Hey YouTube, Natalie here. So I'm going to be reacting to Crazy Sovereign Citizens 7, Sovereign Citizens Getting Owned 7, Freeman Compilation 7. So it's 7 of these. This video is by Bedtime Media. So credit goes to Bedtime Media for the original video. Let's get into it. Oh, I keep forgetting to say this. Disclaimer. I am a criminal defense attorney. I have not seen any of these videos before. If they do talk about anything other than criminal law, then I won't be able to talk about it with expertise. But if they do talk about criminal law, I can at least give you guys some guidelines on avoiding what happens to these people happening to you. They tend to get their windows smashed a lot, apparently. Let's get right into it.
I don't answer questions.
Okay. Here's the thing, is that if sovereign citizens have nothing else, it's the audacity. They get into these situations with these police officers. They get their windows smashed, they get arrested, and then they turn around and they post the stuff to YouTube themselves, like voluntarily showing them getting owned. It's very strange to me. If I get owned in public, I am not gonna be, my other video shared. I am not gonna be posting it to YouTube. I'm not gonna be the one sharing it.
What's your emergency, sir?
What? The reason I'm stopping it.
Okay, just off the bat, he asked, what's your emergency, sir? Officer does not need an emergency to stop you. He simply needs reasonable, articulable suspicion that criminal activity is afoot in order to stop you. That's it.
You don't have any plates or a temporary registration on me. What do you mean?
So he's stopping him because he doesn't have any plates or a temporary registration on the vehicle. Everyone driving on the roadway needs to have license plates, needs to have a driver's license. And if you don't have license plates, you need to have a temporary tag on your vehicle. So that is required.
I don't answer questions, sir. What's your name?
Okay, do you have your license, registration, insurance, please?
I always encourage people not to answer police officers' questions while they are being pulled over. There are only a few things that you need to answer questions about or do. They ask for your license and registration, provide the license and registration. If they're asking about, where's your tag? If it must have fallen off or something, maybe that. But outside of just those general things, in order to confirm that you are a legal driver, I also do not encourage clients to make statements to the police, because that can end up being something that gets you in a lot of trouble. Just like, where are you going? Where are you coming from? I always tell clients not to answer those questions, but you are compelled to provide your driver's license.
I don't answer questions, sir. What's your name?
Okay, my name is Officer Randall.
Officer Randall. And what is your badge number?
Are you recording, sir?
I don't answer questions, sir.
Inform me of that.
I don't answer questions, sir. I need your name and your phone and your badge number.
Your registration and then.
So while you are entitled to the officer's badge number and his name during a traffic stop, in return, you are also entitled or required to provide your driver's license and your registration. So he's not holding up his end of the bargain.
Insurance, please.
Am I being detained, sir?
Yes.
What's that?
When you're being stopped by the police in a car, you are being detained. You are being detained, okay? And you can always ask for the reason that you're being stopped, which the officer automatically provided to him. You don't have tags on the cars. It's a valid reason to stop you. Now you're being detained for him to investigate that further, which he has the right to do. The only time is if you're on foot and an officer comes up to you and starts trying to talk to you, then it's an appropriate question. Are you being detained? I mean, it's always an appropriate question, but it's obvious that you're being detained because he stopped you in your car with his sirens and his lights, and he's talking to you. You're detained.
Am I being detained?
You are
Yes.
being stopped for a traffic violation.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Am I free to go?
No, you're not.
Then you are.
And here's the thing, is like, I also encourage clients to ask that question, are you free to go? But it's obvious in a traffic stop, you're not free to go, okay? Now, if they start asking you questions, you can say, I don't want to answer any of your questions. Here's my license, here's my registration, here's my proof of insurance. This is where my tag is. Please run my information. Have a nice day, but I'm not answering any more of your questions. But all this other stuff is just unnecessary. You know that you're being detained.
Trying to put me under arrest.
He's not trying to put you under arrest, okay? He didn't even say anything about you getting out of the car or anything like that. He's just asking for your information, which he's entitled to do under the traffic laws of every state.
This is false arrest.
You're not
The reason why I
arrested.
stopped you, which is there's no license plates or temporary registration on the vehicle.
What is
Now
your
stop.
badge number, sir?
My badge number is 16.
Officer Randall, badge number 16.
Yes, sir.
I do not condone this stop, and I exercise my
You don't know
Fifth
what you-
Amendment right to remain silent.
Okay. Okay. All right. So, how should I put this? If he asks to search your car, you definitely can say, I don't consent to a search, right? But it's implied that you didn't ask to be stopped by him, right? This thing that he's clearly not up on his sovereign citizen terminology is what's really going on. And you have a Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination. You don't have to make any statements. Maybe he doesn't want to say anything because he doesn't have any tags. He knows he doesn't have a license plate, so he doesn't want to say anything further. That's fine, but now you're going to be put under arrest because he stopped you on suspicion of driving without a registration or tags or license plate, whatever it was. And you're basically confirming that you don't have that by failing to provide it to him. And now he can arrest you or issue you a citation for committing that crime.
And to not say anything further without presence of attorney and counsel.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay, just so you know, sir, it is a crime to fail to carry and present.
It's a crime.
So if you do not have registration, then I will be able to force to detain you until I can...
Here's the thing, is that he is detaining him to investigate, but he can arrest him in order to confirm further, or he can arrest him in order to issue him a citation. Basically, the questions that the officer is asking you, you can avail yourself of the opportunity to answer the questions in order to allay the officer's suspicion. So put his suspicions at rest. Oh, you thought I didn't have a tag? Here it is. I just had it propped up in the back window. It must have fallen over. Here's my tag. Here's my license plate. Then you can say, oh, okay, you do have a license plate. It's not properly affixed. I'm going to give you a warning for that, or a ticket for not properly affixing it. And I'm going to confirm that your license is straight. It's straight. Have a nice day. Here's your paperwork. Bye. You know? But you are not going, if you don't want to avail yourself of the opportunity to allay his suspicions, then you can take that arrest for that crime, because traffic infractions are crimes.
identify who you are.
Well, you haven't asked for his license yet.
Are you now, Officer Randall,
Number 16.
attempting to threaten me and put me in a situation of
He didn't
duress
threaten
and
you.
force
No, sir.
and put me under an
you of
unlawful...
potential crime. So
What?
it's a simple question. I'm just
He
asking
didn't
for
threaten you. He
identification.
literally told you
And
what's
then
going to happen.
Make sure I
Okay, you asked him for
Yeah.
identification.
I don't answer questions, and I don't...
You
I
don't have
read
to.
that contract.
Yes, you did. The moment that you got on the road and you get behind the wheel of an automobile and you take that automobile onto a public road from point A to point B, you have agreed to the implied contract that you will drive with a license, and that when an officer requests you to identify yourself, you will identify yourself. You are compelled to identify yourself because you're operating a motor vehicle. It's not like walking on the street where you have more freedoms. Because of the dangerousness of operating a motor vehicle, you are compelled to identify yourself. You are compelled to have a driver's license and proper registration and insurance. And you are compelled to provide proof of that. If you don't provide proof of that, that's on you, but then you can be arrested for failing to provide proof and then taken down to the police station. This guy is walking himself into an arrest. He's walking himself into an arrest.
It's about 8:45 on Wednesday morning. I'm on my way to work, just minding my own business, when Officer Friendly pulled up behind me.
Officer
I don't
Friendly.
even know if he's an officer. I asked him for his name and badge number. His name is Randall. I forgot the badge number, but I should have it on
16.
recording. He said I was being detained because I wouldn't give him my
Okay, I'm going to skip through all his talking.
counsel.
You have a Fifth Amendment right to counsel. What you're basically saying is that I think I'm going to incriminate myself by speaking, right? And you have the right to say, I'm not going to say anything, but the officer then has the right to take it a step further and arrest you because he can't identify you. He's not just going to let you go, right? He had a valid reason for stopping you. He has the right to force you to identify yourself. If you refuse to identify yourself and confirm whether or not you're driving your car legally or not, and your car is properly registered and insured, then he has the right to take you down to the station or to fingerprint you, identify you, issue you whatever citations, and then, you know, you'll probably be free to leave from there unless you have some warrants. So he's walking himself into an arrest. Let me skip forward a little bit more. Now the officer is phoning out. Okay, he's approaching the car here.
Trying to do the easy thing, identify who you are, issue some
Okay.
no license, place, or temporary.
Okay.
Identification.
Okay, here we go.
Okay, sir. So, do you have any identification on you?
He just wants to identify this guy, and the officer has the right to do that once he's legally pulled you over. He has the right to identify you.
This is my identification.
Okay.
His face.
So here's the deal.
He's saying his face is his identification.
Like I explained to you, if I can't prove who you are, and I've requested identification from you because you were stopped for a traffic violation
Yeah.
of having no license, place, or temporary registration. Okay. If I can't identify you,
Yeah.
and you don't want to provide that information to me, it's called fail to carry and present.
Yeah.
Okay, which is
So every state names it differently. In my state, it's failure to carry registration or failure to carry a license or present an officer with a license on demand, right? Failure to FTLOD. That's the short form of it. Failure to provide license on demand. And this state has the same exact thing. He has failed to present or provide his license on demand. And that is a separate traffic citation that gives the officer the authority to either issue the citation for it or arrest you for it.
a crime. So I'm trying to do the easy thing, identify who you are, issue a citation, and we'll get you out of here if I can do that.
Yeah.
I've
Because
invoked my
failing to drive with the proper registration in most states is simply just a citation. And so he could have just gotten away with a simple citation, but, you know, he's walking himself into an arrest.
right,
Refuse
my
to do
Fifth
so,
Amendment
I am going to be
right.
forced to place you under arrest.
I've
You
invoked
understand
my
that?
Fifth Amendment right
Okay, go ahead and step out of the vehicle for me.
to
I get it. You have the right to invoke your Fifth Amendment right, but it's a tricky thing, right? And the tricky thing is that when you get into the car, you contract with the state, with the government, that you will do several things. You'll have a license, you'll have a registration, you'll have insurance, and that when an officer stops you, you will identify yourself and provide the proof of those things that you have to have. And if you break that contract, you are agreeing to face citation or arrest. You've already agreed to that by getting into that vehicle.
remain silent
Sir,
without presence.
go ahead and step out of the vehicle.
You
You're
gotta
under
get
arrest.
out. Oh, you're under arrest, man. Come on, just get out.
I've invoked my Fifth
Step
Amendment
Give
right.
him
out
some
of the
ID.
vehicle now.
I do not.
Okay, he's not doing
I
that.
am doing nothing wrong,
Yes.
Okay, like I said, you are under arrest at this time.
which is why I've invoked my Fifth Amendment right
Okay,
to
and you
remain
can do
silent.
that, and that's fine.
You
So
can
I'm
do that.
asking for-
You can invoke your Fifth Amendment right, and then when you get to court in front of the judge, say, you know, oh, I wasn't knowingly without a license. I wasn't knowingly without registration. I didn't know about it, and I just decided not to say anything. And the judge can consider, you know, they can't consider the fact that you choose to remain silent, and they won't have a statement to use against you at trial. But what the judge can say is that, well, you never presented the officer with proof of license, proof of registration. You never had a registration on your vehicle. There was no tag on your vehicle. And that in order to identify you, the officer had to take you down to the station. So I'm going to find that you did not present an ID. I'm going to find that you were driving without a license, because they're going to pull his record once they have him down at the station. They figure out who he is, which they will. And they'll be able to determine that he was driving without a license and driving without registration, right? And all that means is that they won't have a statement that they can use against you where you're like, oh, I don't have a license. Oh, I didn't have a license. They won't have that statement, but they'll have all the other surrounding, supporting direct evidence to show that you were driving without a license and without registration. So he's going to have to get out this car now. He's under arrest.
Refuse to step out of the vehicle. I won't ask you any more questions or anything like that,
All right.
but you do need to step out of the vehicle because
Right.
you are on.
Right. He's not trying to compel him to say anything else, but he has enough probable cause now to make a full-blown arrest. And so he can ask for him to get out of the vehicle.
Under arrest.
Is that an order?
Yes.
It is an order.
You heard it here first, folks. He ordered me out of the vehicle, so
So
now he
get
will
out.
be charged for his time. For my time.
He's not going to be charged for anything. He literally did everything by the book.
Go and step back here for me, sir.
You're gonna have to put your phone away.
Don't take your hands out of your pocket for me. I'll take
Well,
this
I'm
one.
glad he got out of the, yeah.
I think if juries.
All right, that was interesting. I'm only gonna do that one video because it was very long for me to get through that. But he just ended up under arrest. And again, had he identified himself, even if he didn't have license or registration or insurance, he probably would have been given a citation and been able to catch a taxi home or an Uber home or something like that, right? He didn't actually have to get arrested. But because the officer can't identify him, he cannot issue him a citation. He has to be able to know that he's given the citation to the correct person. He has to be able to confirm who the person is. And so since he, and again, to be fair, in some states, they will arrest you for driving without a license. I think they recently changed the law in the past 5 years in my state where they said that they really don't want you arresting people for driving without a license or driving suspended. Please just issue citations unless you can't identify them. The same goes for possession of marijuana over a certain amount. They don't, it's decriminalized here under 10 grams and then over 10 grams. They just want you to issue a citation. They don't want you crowding the jails with people being arrested for silly things like this. The only reason you get arrested in states like that is because you refuse to identify yourself. So I wish he had just identified himself so he could have gotten the citation and go home. He turned a citation into an arrest. Now he's going to have to maybe post some type of bond, and it's just a waste of time. So that's my reaction to it. This guy was wasting time, and he didn't seem that committed to his sovereign citizenship anyway. He didn't seem to quite understand what was going on. He was right. He does have the right to remain silent, but remaining silent in this particular situation was not helpful to him because he could have remained silent. Okay, here's technical. He could have remained silent on, did he have a license? I don't want to say anything about that. Do you have registration? I remain silent. Who are you? I am this person. Here is my ID. I live at this address. Please issue me the citation for driving without a license and I'll go on about my business. But they already had enough evidence to prove him guilty of that, and they'll run his record and see he doesn't have a license or registration, and then that will be the end of it. Anyway, that's my thoughts on it. Sovereign citizens are interesting people. I would love to understand the psychology of them a little bit more. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.